to Mediocre Gay, the podcast with David Ian and Kate Dale.
The show that plumbs the depths of mediocrity, celebrates the ordinary, and enjoys the everyday.
Hello and welcome to Mediocre Gay, the podcast. I'm Kate Dale.
And I'm David Ian.
So, David, tell me something about your week, because it's been a while since we've caught up. What's been the most mediocre thing that you've been up to this week?
My most mediocre thing this week was my Saturday night.
Tell me more.
I did absolutely nothing. And then at 8:30, I left my house and went and bought an individual syrup pudding and an individual pot of custard. Which is the sort of thing my grandmother did when she was 70, living in rural Kent, not when she was in her 30s, living in Zone 1 of London.
So when 8-year-old David in rural Kent, where you grew up, thinking about his big, exciting London life, was this what you had in mind?
No. But what happens is comedy steals all your energy and...
joy?
Yeah, and like social bandwidth. So I just didn't make any plans. And then I realised it was Saturday night and I was like, how can I celebrate? And what I really wanted, it's even sadder, what I really wanted was jam roly-poly, but they only had a full-sized portion that was for 4 people, which I was completely okay with getting. But it could only be cooked in the oven, which would have taken 25 minutes. And I was like, well, now electricity prices have gone up 27%. I can't really justify that. Whereas my individual syrup pudding can be done in the microwave.
Okay. I'm trying to find the...
I'm going to die alone.
The thing is, don't you think, though, because actually that sounds like a really lovely Saturday night in, and I think sometimes the joy of just staying at home, pyjamas.
It really was, because I also just watched 14 episodes of The Golden Girls.
Yeah, but you've got me back into The Golden Girls, and I'd forgotten just how good it is. And I've just watched the episode, the tap dancing episode.
Oh my God.
They're brilliant.
Yeah, we can't sing the theme tune because we'll have to pay rights or something. But yeah, so there you go.
Thank you for being a friend.
It's mediocre. So we've got a guest.
People will be glad to hear that, I think, because how much excitement can there be? Actually, quite a lot.
From syrup sponge pudding, imagine. Okay, so this week we have got a singer, songwriter, producer, and personal trainer who is one of my lovely friends, who I think is actually also really funny, even though he's not a stand-up comedian.
I mean, being a stand-up comedian doesn't necessarily mean you're funny, I've discovered.
Speaking
personally, of course.
He does also train as a personal trainer sometimes, and most of the time I pick him because we don't have to do that much work, because he just chats away.
Just accuse him of being bad at his
really
job.
good chat.
It is good chat.
He's really easy to distract, so you don't need to do any work. Anyway, it's Mykhe. Yay!
Hi, everybody.
Hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I think that's a fair description of you, though. It is really easy to distract you.
Yes, I feel it is.
Do you use to? Is it like having a teacher at work who you know what their pet hobby is at the weekend and you say, sir, tell us about?
Oh, I mean, just talk about boys. Or...
I mean, it depends who I'm with. So if I get somebody who's interesting on the same vibe as me, of course I'm going to run away with my thoughts. But
what does David?
Leave me with a compliment.
He's a good listener.
Yeah.
So it's a good, 60 minutes, 55 minutes of me talking about myself and you doing some crunches at the end.
That sounds like the perfect routine.
No,
explains a lot,
in
David.
fairness, I think you're quite good when you come in. You push yourself.
There you go. See,
you could always push harder, but you push yourself.
What's his least favourite exercise that you really have to make him do?
If I could, do I just one? Like all of them. Least favourite, or just ones that you're particularly shit at? Oh, you got bad knees.
I've got really bad knees. I've got really bad knees.
Oh, that's a story for another podcast as to why David has bad
knees. Anything
knees.
to do with lower body, really. No?
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah, half the body bad.
Yeah. Squats. Like a squat.
But I'm really good at core stuff. I'm very good.
No, but you give a good. You're not like a lot of people have issues, and I'll be like, oh, you shouldn't do that, and they'll be like, okay. Whereas you'll kind of like try a little bit, and then you'll be like, oh no, actually, I can't do that.
You go see, you were not expecting that, were you? My week's turned around. Amazing. Right, thanks for being here.
Hi, you're welcome. Thank you.
So, what's our first question?
What does mediocre mean to you?
So, having just thought of this for the first time now and never pre-planned anything, I think mediocre means, it feels negative when you say it, no? Like, obviously, like, I'm sure everybody who's come on this podcast now has, like, Googled it before, and it's like, wow, it actually means, like, it's not a bad thing. It's like something average.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I would say, yeah, something average, but there's still like a negative attachment to it. So like, not good enough. Meh.
Meh. I think
Meh.
that's the right.
Something
that's
that's
a good
just
word,
like,
isn't it?
I like to think that in Google headquarters, where they look at search data, they're saying, "Why is there a
Why
sudden
the
run
fuck
on the
is it-
word mediocre?"
Yeah.
That's
First of
gonna
all,
be the word of the year.
spelling it.
I know. Do you know what? I've never had.
I would not have thought that.
I now write it so often, and every single
Mediocre.
time I'm like, "Ooh, is that how you do it?"
Mediocre.
Bizarre, isn't it?
And then
Anywho.
that's second.
Mediocre.
So what do you love that is
Uh,
mediocre?
Do I love the mediocre? How do I say this in the nicest way? I have quite a thing for larger set men. Fat guys. Fat guys need love too.
Okay.
And we kind of a little bit of a chat about this before, and I think a lot of people kind of get a little bit taken aback by the word fat and like, you can't say that. Whereas I follow a lot of people on Instagram, and I get a lot of my my worldviews right now from following different accounts, and a lot of plus size models and people who are on catwalks and being seen, and I learn a lot from like just looking at their stories and stuff, and I realize that like a lot of the time people do like use that word in a really like negative way, and people will say stuff like they'll be talking about their size and they'll say whatever, like, you know, I'm fat, or and the first thing a person will respond to will be like, no, you're beautiful, and the person will be like, I didn't say I wasn't beautiful, I said I was fat. And I'm like, that's so true. Like little nuances and things like that, you know, that you don't really think
Yeah.
about. That's gotten a lot deeper than I was trying to go with that. I
Good rule
just
for life:
like,
always go deep.
huh?
Good rule for
Yeah,
life.
definitely
Consensually.
very deep. Yeah.
As if that needed saying.
Yes.
one of my really like one of my best friends in the whole wide world has done a lot of like work around the word fat.
Yeah.
And she says that she refuses. She doesn't say that she is fat, but she's bigger, and she's struggled with her weight her entire life. And it's yo-yoed up and down. And she doesn't say that she's fat. She says that she has fat, because it isn't something
Yeah,
that she
I
is.
can relate to that.
Like
Yeah.
it's something that her body
I can
has,
understand that.
and that makes a lot of sense, and I really respect that. And she says that she spent a lot of time with like internalized fat phobia,
Oh yeah. I
which
can identify with
as
that.
like I imagine we've all at least met
Yeah.
people who have internalized homophobia, for example. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it? So I can completely see that.
Well, it's a person by person. Obviously, I'm talking about one or two or three influencers that I follow that are giving their personal account. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's person to person. You know, somebody like the word queer. Some gay people love it. Some people want to reclaim it, and other people don't want to hear it used around them. And that's like, you know, you should be able to talk about that.
How do you feel about that word?
I have no problem with the word. It's an interesting one for me, especially recently. Like for such a long time, I've worked in like nightclubs and in places where, I mean, years back, not now. I've worked in nightclubs and places where I was really surrounded with a lot of like queerness and openness and really kind of pushed into that. And then more recent, I've kind of like had like a brick wall when it comes to this stuff. Like I kind of felt like I've been pushing into something that I'm not. So like, great if you want to push into your queerness, and a lot of the time that kind of means like your effeminate side. Absolutely fine with that, you know. And I was kind of pushing into that, but being uncomfortable, like doing stuff that wasn't necessarily like at the end of the day me. And more recently, it's been more about, disclaimer, going to be called toxic masculine, pushing into like learning more about my masculine side and learning how to fight and playing sport, and they're all learned. I know masculine traits, blah 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 blah. I get all that. I get that argument, whatever. But I've learned it, and I've really grown confidence wise over the past year, 2 years, pushing into that side of my personality. I'm a man. I have feminine and masculine traits, blah blah blah. But I've really grown as a person in my just turned 30, pushing into that masculine side, that I kind of felt like the word queerness was pulling me away because I need to reclaim my queerness.
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds like the very opposite of toxic masculinity
You've
to
no
me.
idea how often I get called that right now. Like my friends, they're like,
Really?
"Oh yeah, you're toxic masculine." You know, I'm like, "Okay, can I have the conversation?"
I think as a phrase, and I have not about a person, I don't think, but I've thrown it around in conversations with friends, and I got called out on it by a friend of mine who's got 2 teenage sons and is married. She's straight and is married, and she said, "I hate that because she feels attacked because she lives she's got boys, she's raising boys, and she's trying to raise them to be decent sons." And I think we are sometimes I am sometimes in danger of being dismissive of so much by just throwing out that phrase and just blaming it. And I think toxic masculinity damages everybody, has damaged everybody, comes out of it, obviously, talking to the choir on this, aren't I? But patriarchal culture. But it's not being able to explore what's positive about what we have traditionally called masculinity and what's positive about what we have traditionally called femininity, and allowing people to be whole people with different things going on in them and different things at different times in their lives or just on different days.
Yeah, I mean, masculinity itself isn't toxic.
Yeah.
There's just some traits that we associate with masculinity that, when pushed a certain way, become toxic.
And ironically, someone shouting you down and calling you that is really
is that.
a classic example of toxic.
And I don't ever experience anything like this, but it's literally only been in the last 6 months, it's doubled, but in the last year was probably the first time it's happened to me. And I'm like, do you even know who you're talking to? Like, I've spent I came out at 13, I spent my whole life embracing my gayness. And now I'm toxic masculine just because I don't want to do drag at somebody's birthday. Like, you take yourself too serious. It doesn't appeal to me to wear heels.
No, I don't see the way I see what you're saying, like the conversation that you've just had, is that you're able to talk about the spectrum and you've explored the spectrum and you understand where you sit on the spectrum.
Yeah,
and
totally.
the acknowledgement of the existence of the spectrum stops it being toxic.
I
don't get why. We've had this conversation quite a bit, haven't we? Because I felt like I explored my masculinity quite a lot, and I had a really difficult relationship with my masculinity.
Yeah.
And there was a period where I was like, I don't know, like, am I non-binary or like, what is it? And I very much settled on the fact that I am 100% a man, and like I refused to the fact
that you even just say that, a man, like,
right,
you identify with that,
deal, right? And I don't know if you would have ever picked up on it, but one of the things that happened when I started coming training all those years ago is that I would always make jokes about not really being a man, and it's something that I try not to.
A little bit, totally,
It's something that I try not to do anymore because I'm like, this is just my version of being a man. They may not be traditional, I don't go fighting or whatever, and I have long hair, and like the only reason why I've got long hair now is it's something that I've always wanted, but I never felt comfortable enough with my masculinity. My masculinity was always too fragile, and now I feel secure in my masculinity. So I'm like, I can have the long hair,
of what it is,
and it doesn't
to be
stop
a man.
me being a man. Exactly.
Because we are gay men.
Exactly. And I've stopped going to hen parties. We had this discussion not that long ago, didn't we? Like, I don't go to hen parties because as a gay man, you get invited to them quite a lot.
Yeah. I caricature a lot of the time.
Exactly.
And that's where the queerness
because I'm not a
Totally.
girl. That's fine if you want to go and do that. But my version is I'm a man. I'm a gay man. I want to spend my time mostly with people who understand
we get pushed into it. And fine if that's your thing.
That's
Absolutely
do,
fine.
fine.
Like, I want people to like explore their fluidity. Explore their fluidity. But as you said, like, you do like it, and it goes back to, we were talking earlier about that fucking book, Velvet Rage, where you're constantly trying to like make up for the feeling of less than, for growing up in a heteronormative society, and you're kind of damaged, and you want people to like you, and be the funny gay, can we be like Will and Grace? Could you be Will? And like, you just like me.
In my show, Mediocre Gay,
I
actually talk about the fact that there are breeds of gay men that people want to see.
Yeah.
And one of them is like the big gay, and that is like
the loud, funny.
That's what they find acceptable. And if you aren't that person, then you also find that you don't necessarily fit in there as well. So that ends up being a really big thing. I mean, the word queer for me, I choose the word queer because I feel like if I say the word gay, I feel like that very specifically talks about sex, or people see it as that.
That's interesting.
And I feel like queer encompasses more of my lifestyle. I think my lifestyle sits outside of like the heteronormativity.
I want to talk like that. That's interesting. Yeah.
And so I feel like queer covers the fact that I, don't live a very heteronormative life in any regard outside of whether I'm having sex or not.
Yeah.
Which generally I'm not.
And for me, I use the word queer now. I mean, years.
Are you gay, Kate?
I'm bi, but I didn't realise for years.
Yeah.
So I grew up straight. Is that the right phrase? But thought I was straight, lived a straight life.
Straight presenting.
Straight presenting, and in heterosexual relationships. that never, for various reasons, entirely worked. And I think part of that was because I had this other side to me, and it wasn't just about the sex and wanting to have sex with women. It was something more than that didn't quite fit in and just wasn't. It was a bit of a
It's hard
square
for
peg in a
women.
round hole.
Yeah, with the whole-
And just never quite worked. And then I assumed for ages that I was, and I hate this phrase, so apologies, but fag hag, because I was happier hanging out with gay men and in queer circles. Probably knew more gay men than gay women, and I mean, it probably gets into a whole journey which probably quite dull and we don't have time for. But finally, in the last 2 or 3 years, recognizing that I was bi, and then eventually not being afraid to put the label on. And it wasn't that I was afraid to come out because I'm 52. That sort of thing is much easier for me now, and I wasn't in a relationship. There was no difficulty with that, but I felt like I was. I didn't want to be seen as pretending or trying to be something that I wasn't, or trying to play with the cool kids, which is probably hilarious to hear from people who've always known they were gay or queer, being described as a cool kids.
But
you know what I mean? I didn't want to look like just trying to join in for the sake of it. So, yeah.
It's really interesting to hear. Like I mean, I think you're a very masculine.
I struggle with it daily. Like, and it shouldn't matter, but it's for me. I'm really like I'm in therapy around it. Like, I'm trying to pick the parts of me that are me, that are feminine, that I'm cool with, and the parts of me that are masculine, that I'm cool with. And the bits that I've become like, just like as I said before, like just trying to people please. So much people pleasing. But yeah, it's a constant thought for me.
How does the gym training relate to all of that? Because for me, the gym is
therapy
such a
for me.
masculine environment. I mean, like the very first time that I came and trained, so Mykhe's at a personal training gym, so you can only go there if you are training with a trainer, but sometimes you'll train with different people. And when I joined a few years ago, the very first time that I went, I was late for my session because I was being sick in the toilet.
Oh no, that kills me.
Yeah, and it wasn't with you. My first session wasn't with you, actually, because I wouldn't book in with men.
Yeah.
I have this really weird thing when new people start, they take ages before I'll train with them. But if they're men, basically I
know there's still a few that you won't train with.
You can't say that on here. But like,
we all have different skill sets.
But I will train. But I was really nervous about training with you originally.
Yeah, you told me, or somebody told me that, and that really doesn't upset me, but it couldn't be further away from who I am. Like, if I see like, sorry to be stereotypical, like a little twink that's wearing eyeliner and nail varnish on the tube.
He's not describing me, but
I want to no. Well, probably at some point. But
yeah,
I become like, I go into fantasy land in my head, and I'm like overprotective big brother. I'm like, is there anybody looking at him? So, and like, I do like this role play in my head. Like, if anybody says anything to him, like, I'm gonna go up and help him. I hate to think that I would ever intimidate somebody, because I'm so intimidated all day long. But yeah, that's funny.
See,
it's funny how we're all
really
in our
interesting
heads.
Because one of the things that I talk about a lot with my friends is the fact that I feel like a lot of my fear comes from a physical fear, because I'm very slight, because I don't look like I could defend myself. I think I like
give him the 1-2.
Yeah, exactly.
Pow.
I would miss and punch myself in the face. So I feel like that's where a lot of my fear, and I just, as I said the word fear, then I was like, I wonder if that's the right word, but I do think that is the right word. Like, I do have a level of fear, like, out in the real world when I'm walking around.
Totally. I mean, but it's I think it's valid as well, because shit happens. We're in London. But
what I'm interested about that, though, is I feel like mine comes from the fact that I am not built like you, and you are built like you, and it's still something that you like. You're like, I still walk around intimidated.
Well, I'm like 5'7". Like, I'm not a big guy. There's a lot more bigger people than me. But I definitely don't. I don't know. I'm a little bit different in that sense, that I think I just have like that Irish like fighting spirit. Like, I came out at 13. From the start of secondary school to the end, I was fighting. My big brothers used to bring their friends over and would like fight for entertainment. Like, they would like pair me up with like a guy 5 years my age. So it's so in me to like not proper fighting, like standing on somebody's like fucking neck, that's not that's not how you fight people,
Lonsdale rules, whatever they are.
But so I have a kind of like a really like aggressive, not aggressive side, but like a really defensive side. And that really helped me through secondary school. Coming out at 13, like, that really fucking helped me. Like, I remember being pulled into a classroom by my vice principal, my first year of secondary school, and being told, stop telling people you're gay. Like, the vice
Wow.
principal, this story goes so deep, I won't go into it too much, but the vice principal telling me that, and then the actual principal of the school, I really want to say his name because what a dickhead, but I can't. But you know who you are. Where's the camera? You know who you are, motherfucker. I remember the actual principal, the male principal, his son was a year ahead of me. He was the most flamboyant, gorgeous gay you could ever imagine. This guy was so obviously gay. And I remember him coming to me one day and saying to me, we were friends, and saying to me, my dad said I shouldn't be hanging out with you because people start calling me gay. Because I was out gay. I was telling people. And he was effeminate, not out, you know? And like, just like only years later, thinking back to like how little support we had at secondary school and how much people, everything's changed, the referendum to Ireland. No, I'm pretty sure on the ground there's still a lot of bullshit going on. But to circle back around, fighting was like just taking care of myself. Like nobody else was there for me. Like for most of us in secondary school, you know. So that probably again feeds into the whole seeing the twink on Fritz Street and me like, yeah, I'm going to save you. You know, it's never happened yet.
There's so much in this exam. And before we move on, I do want to come back to the word fat. But before that, one of the conversations that we've been having a lot recently is that there is I think it's particular, there's generations. In every group, there's generations and they have different experiences. But the generation of gay men who grew up in this country through Clause 28, where homosexuality couldn't be talked about at school. Yeah. And then it's different in Ireland growing up, but that's similar, it was still a very conservative, Catholic-run country. I mean, it's incredible how much has changed, at least at surface level there. Yeah. But nevertheless, that's sort of, I guess, 30 to 40 something or other group. It's different to the generation that went before, but it's a very different experience, I think. And this is me from outside that particular part of our community, I know. But so it's observing rather than experiencing, so I should be careful. But that experience of shame and that experience of feeling that you weren't allowed to be you and growing up with that, and you just had to be less you, whether that was verbalized very explicitly or just all the implicit messages, has left such a legacy, I think. And I think so many
scars.
So many scars, and it's still affecting people's lives, and it's threatened people's lives. And you know, friends I've got who've got addiction issues, who've got, and I'm pretty positive they're clearly not a trained psychologist or indeed any sort of a psychologist. That's what a lot of it comes down to.
I mean, the good news is that it's keeping a lot of therapists in employ.
Yes, that's good. Shout out to Kev, my therapist.
I don't know many gay men that don't have a very intense
This got quite
regime.
intense. It wasn't very funny. I was hoping to be more funny. This got quite deep.
Fine, you have to be funny.
I went so deep.
Well, like it's
deep.
Really.
You weren't expecting this from me. I know you weren't.
I wasn't at all.
Mic drop.
It's really surprised me, but even in that, there's a lesson because I obviously have my own judgments on you because of how you look.
And I judge you.
Well, no surprise there.
He deserves it though, to be fair.
But I find like to hear you talking about school and that, which rings really similar, and like how I feel and that, I find it really. It doesn't then surprise me that we do get on. Yeah. Even though it did surprise, I was like, oh, we would have nothing in common. That's why we're not going to train. Yeah. And then we do. And then, I mean, I
think I've grown my hair out.
Oh, you should do it. We'll look like twins.
Yeah. We'll get rid of the old batch.
Oh, no. Obviously. I'm so desperate to tell everybody the facts that I learned about you that meant that I felt able to train with you. But I don't know if you want everyone to know.
What? Wait, what?
Well, everyone's going to make up whatever it is, something
we'll cut it out if you don't want anyone to know.
What did you say? I didn't get that.
So, before I started training with you, I got told a fact about you that meant that I was willing to train with you. You know what it is because we've discussed it. You'll have forgotten right now. But you were in a band.
Oh, don't speak of it. The ABBA thing. Yeah. Let's not speak of the ABBA thing.
Oh my god!
He was in an ABBA tribute band.
Were you? Which one were you?
I was forced. This is bullying. Waterloo. No, we have to pay for rights.
Can't afford the rights.
No, I'm in fucking music school, motherfuckers. They're like, one of the assignments for like the whole semester was like put a band together, and these fucking people were like, let's do ABBA.
I was like,
That
well,
would
if he's
be
been in
my
an
And I
ABBA
was like,
tribute band, we can
absolutely.
definitely
That
train.
would be one of my
I
dreams.
didn't hate it, but like I'm not like a singer.
It's very
like,
different to your actual music, though. Isn't it? Tell us about your actual music.
Yes, just do that. I make music. I produce. I rap. I do sing on my stuff, but like there's a shitload of auto-tune on that. But I don't see myself as like a singer, and that was like a singing thing, you know. So that was really uncomfortable. There's
Did you do the moves?
There's videos. There's videos. It was streamed live. Yeah, it was streamed live.
Would we find those on YouTube?
You will find it on some type of tube, yeah. But please don't.
So you've got a new single that's coming out. Right
yes,
now?
I have a new single that I just finished recently. It's called "Boy," and it's the first song that. It's the first. It's the first song that to me has like a really obvious like gay undertone. Well, they all have a gay undertone because I'm gay, but this one's like a more obvious story to me. I've basically based it off a friendship that I've got at the moment. It was a mate. Don't want to say too much. I don't want him to know, but because I've not told him yet. But he's moved up from a smaller town into London, and I really see him going through what I went through, moving as a young gay man into the city.
Yeah.
And just kind of it's like not a warning, but it's like just like a little ode to like what you can expect. But it's vibey, so listen to it. It's not you won't. Yeah,
all right. Well, let's play it.
Yeah.
I stay alone, boy. I stay alone. Take you up into my home, to my home, to my home. Then I'll stop and turn around, turn around, turn around. I stay alone, boy. I stay alone, boy. You wanna walk into your know, welcome to the show. Oh boy, boy, boy. You die, die, die. Oh boy, boy, boy. You die, 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 die. You die, 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 die. You die, 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 die. You die, die, you die, die. I like your face, like the way you take the Capri Sun. Like the taste, chew my way all through the dry breeze. Don't have to say I know my way, I got that drum roll cred. I wrote that wave, then I decided that it's not mine.
Great. So where can we download that?
So I would like you guys to go. Where's my camera? I'd like you guys to go to go to my socials. MYKHE01. Okay, MYKHE.
I remember when you were working out your name and changing it.
Yeah, for the moment we're going to go with MYKHE01 on Instagram. And Mykhe MYKHE on all streaming platforms. And just like double stream it, add it to a playlist, tell your friends.
Sometimes I go out and leave it on Spotify.
You do that. That's so
house.
sweet.
You can have my
Yeah,
0.7p.
And I know who's doing it. I got my fucking stats, my analytics and stuff. I'm like, okay, Bristol, okay, 17 plays. Like I know who's supporting me.
I will do that. I really love it actually. It's
Thank you.
Really chilled, isn't it? It's really lovely, yeah.
So back to larger people.
Yeah, sorry, we went on the tangent.
No, but that's, I mean, it's one of the things I
I
love
hope I
about
didn't
this.
word that in a bad way in the beginning, because I think people can be really taken aback by me just saying I like fat people. I was actually referring to I'm like my sexual preference. I generally prefer somebody who's larger set. That's what I was going to, and then we kind of got off talking about how the word fat can be seen as like a bad word.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a word I've struggled. Struggled feels a bit too dramatic, but been unhappy, I guess, with my body and my weight all my life. And sometimes I've been bigger, sometimes I've been smaller. I'm somewhere in the middle now. I can always tell you how I'm feeling about myself. And that's 50 years of pretty much. I remember the moment at about 7 or 8. That was a bit oxymoronic, but I would be about 7 or 8 of realizing that I felt fat and I was by a swimming pool in a swimming costume. And it stayed. I mean, that's certainly
So young.
the experience for, I think, most girls growing up. And I think probably for more boys than we realize as well. But that you're right, that use of the word fat, and I'm much happier with it now because trying to strip the emotion away from it, it's a description. There are times when I'm fatter than others. I feel healthier when I'm not as fat, but I finally, I've mentioned already, but at 52, taken not all of the judgment and the negativity and the self-loathing away from it. Yeah. So it might just be where I am in terms of health, but not feeling, for years and years and years, I thought that I would be happier, more successful luckier in love or anything else when I was thin. When I was thin,
yeah.
I'll be happy. And I would walk into rooms and look around and just subconsciously check out to see if I was the largest person there.
Wow.
And I wasn't, not that this matters, but just for context, I wasn't, hugely obese or anything like that. I was,
But affected you enough that
yeah,
it was
but
on your
larger
mind.
than,
Yeah.
and it just been there. And it's that classic thing, you look back at photos of you when you're younger and you think, I wasn't even.
Yes.
But that's also irrelevant.
I was a
because I'm
babe. I
now
was a
doing it
total
now,
babe,
aren't
yeah.
I? You can't get out of it.
I feel guilty. Before we did, as we were setting up here, I made them move the cameras so that I looked less fat.
No, but like at the same time, it's like I hate this culture now that you can't say anything. Like you're just talking about your body. You weren't like making fun of anyone.
No, I was just horrified at how I looked last time I saw a video of this.
After your 2 little
But
desserts.
there's something as well. I think something else in what you said is people will say a word and it could be fat, it could be queer, it could be anything about how they're feeling, and it's a word that they've chosen about themselves. And if it's how they're wanting to describe themselves, that's their feeling. And someone jumping and saying, "Oh no, you're not fat," or whatever.
I'm so over it. Yeah.
Then but if that's how they feel, I mean, I guess it depends on why they're using that word, but you are denying someone's feelings about themselves. And it's like someone saying, I'm feeling sad or I'm depressed, and you go, oh, cheer up, you've got nothing to be depressed about. That's the wrong thing to do. It's how they're feeling. And so there's something like that. I don't know where I'm going with this. But
I think it has the opposite effect, because people, the people, these warriors, these fucking social warriors coming in are like, I get it, your heart's in the right place, you're trying to do the right thing, but like, I feel like you're splitting people more apart. You're just adding more fire. Like, just fucking talk. Let people talk. And if that offends you, talk to them. Don't talk down to them. Like what you just said about the fat thing. Somebody could totally, like, I could be somebody else and be like, yeah, you shouldn't have said that. You're such an awful person, but it's like I have common sense. You didn't mean it in a bad way. I don't particularly think it's a bad thing, but maybe somebody else would say, actually, that word's kind of triggering for me. Still doesn't mean you're a bad person, maybe you are.
I mean, for other reasons, for entirely other reasons.
And I mean, and I could talk for hours about
how I'm a bad person.
Yeah. Yes, very specifically that. But about fat shaming and the misogyny that goes behind that, and the
What's your take on like Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and these more voluptuous women and having their bodies out and show? Lizzo and all of this.
I love Lizzo.
Like,
used to love Lizzo.
No, I love Lizzo.
I thought you said used
no,
to.
no, I love Lizzo.
Censored.
No, I love Lizzo. I think it's fantastic, and I mean, there's also
every time I see Lizzo on my screen, I'm like, yes. Like, yes.
Completely. Because it's not just misogyny and all fat shaming, there's also usually an element of racism as well, because we are talking what has been held up for years, or certainly in our generation and generations. I mean, we're not the same generation.
We are not.
Has been a very specific, white, waspy, very specific.
We went for dinner with her nephew a couple of weeks ago, and he was basically convinced we were the same age.
I was very happy.
I was not.
I think it's because he thinks of me as young and irresponsible. One of those things is true. But yeah, so I think it's fantastic. I mean, the representation is really important.
It's just
seeing it
and just seeing.
I'm making this about me again. But if I'd grown up seeing women of different shapes and sizes on TV and being celebrated and being able to just focus on their skills, their abilities, their talents, then I think that would have helped me. Instead, I grew up with cereal adverts that said you had to look this way in a red swimsuit.
It's visibility, isn't it? It's like, it's why something like I was reading a really interesting article about what's the dancing show called on BBC? Strictly. Terrible, right?
I mean, it's very niche, David. Nobody would have heard of it.
I was reading an article about that
well.
just this morning, about the fact that somebody's said this, that it's gone too woke, blah blah blah, because of the different people that they've got on it. But I think saying something like that comes from a place of privilege where you don't realise how important it is to see yourself represented on TV. Like John Waite was saying that it's really important that there's a different type of gay man on this time, because he's much camp. He's not as masculine. Yeah. And like, if you're only willing to accept two men dancing together when it's super masculine, and then that's your problem. So it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? Like seeing all different
female
people.
Same-sex.
Yeah, Jade.
Yeah. Sorry. They may be non-binary. We might cut this bit out because I may have just misgendered them. But
but again, it's fine if somebody did do that and you didn't mean it with intent.
Yeah,
it's the scariness of like, have I said something wrong?
Yeah. But they're dancing in a same-sex couple, but it's about, they've specifically said they want it to be about friendship and sisterhood and not that, and that is also valid. And then obviously Ellie Simmons dancing as well is just fantastic, and it does look
And
different.
actually,
But it's
interestingly,
amazing.
I've never seen it.
Jade said that she was like, well, if I was in a female-male couple, what guy is going to lift me?
Yeah.
So, like, at that place, she's bigger, which, like, it relates to exactly what you were saying. It's all about representation at the end of
I
the day.
love Jade. I met her in Overture's piano bar. I didn't meet her. I went
Ooh.
up and said, hello.
So
You're
I'm
Jade, aren't you?
What's her surname?
Jade Adams. It's Jade Adams. Yeah, thank you.
Right. So we'll just go back and do that again.
Yes.
What is she famous for?
Jade Adams is a really, really funny stand-up comedian and actor. And
yes.
she's in this series of Strictly. Very
don't know.
funny, really funny.
Really funny. She's got
Really
some
funny.
great it's on Netflix called Black Jumper. Oh God, I can't remember the names of anything. I mean, serious Black Jumper.
Go back and do that again.
Yeah. So and she's got a great show on Netflix called Serious Black Jumper, which is brilliant and really clever and really makes
Where
you
she's
think.
she's an actress.
Stand-up and actor. She's done quite a lot of podcasts as well. She's also a trained opera singer. She's got the most incredible voice, and she doesn't look like what you would expect an opera singer to look like. I'm doing air quotes.
And started as an Adele drag act.
And is just an all-round lovely person. Because when I did do that, I had a few drinks. I did do that, and I really love you. And she was just, oh, thanks, babe, and gave me a big kiss. And so that was me trying to do
It
Southwest
never goes
accent.
well meeting people that you admire.
I know, and I've done it before with other
I
people who
always
will
fuck it
remain
up, yeah.
nameless, and it was a less positive experience. And I was being nice and respectful, and it was outside their show where
Oh, it
they
was
said,
hilarious.
come and talk to me. So I
You were there?
did. And then
I
they
was
were-
there. It was one of the funniest things that's ever
So I was like,
happened.
oh my God, I really love her. And went up, and she had said she was another comedian, I'm going to get myself in trouble. But yeah, and so I went up, and she was just really weird with me. And I wasn't doing or saying anything. And she had said, come and find me.
Yeah.
Whereas Jade was having a perfectly lovely Saturday night out in a piano bar. We were all singing to musical theatre. It was perfection.
That sounds
I
much better.
invaded her personal space consensually. And I need to stop saying that. But she was really lovely.
Anyway, Mikey, the last question that we ask people
Yeah.
is, what's mediocre about them?
What's mediocre about me?
Mm.
It's hard to think of. It's hard. It's not much. I hate food. I hate cooking. I hate the time that's given to food. I know I'm a personal trainer and food's important. I hate food. It's so boring.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it the cooking of it or the eating of it as well?
I mean, like all of it, like eating all of it. I just find like it's a time. It annoys me. Food
If you
really annoys
could-
me.
I have nothing to say. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot
If you could
relate
get your
in the
nutrition in
least.
a
It's a
pill.
weird one. And it's just
Do you
kind of
do-
happened over
Do you
time.
have Huel? Oh, you do have Huel.
I did
don't you?
do Huel for a while. My diet is basically rice and some type of powder. Yes, some type of like.
See, I did Huel and I had no problem with the taste, but I actually cried about the fact that I was not
Yeah, I would
physically
miss-
eating food. It made me the saddest
Why-
I've ever
why
been.
is-
I'm okay with that concept.
I've
Yeah.
got a question about Huel. It's not less the food, the t-shirt. Why does everybody have to wear a Huel t-shirt? Who's on
Because
I
the
have it at
t-shirt is
home. I do.
amazing.
It is it's a good quality
so
t-shirt.
soft and lovely.
It is. Yeah.
They should, if they brought out a clothing range, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great, but I
Yeah.
just don't want to drink my food.
I do wear the t-shirt. Yeah, the
I-
food I heard is not bad. They do food now, which
Yeah,
is
they
like
do.
totally. It's like why
I know they
the-
did like a mac
yeah.
and cheese thing. It's not great.
No, it's
Oh,
like you
God,
add hot
yeah,
water.
right. It's fine,
Yeah.
but it's not
But if
great.
you're going to have mac and cheese, have mac and cheese,
Have
and
mac and
don't have it
cheese.
every day, but have a really lovely mac
Yeah.
and cheese. So if you could take your food in a nutrition pill or whatever,
That's the.
sorry,
I
that-
always say it, like that is literally like my
you-
dream.
and would it give you so many more? I mean, I would be like you, David. I love cooking. I love thinking about
I don't
food.
understand what the point in being alive is if we're not
No.
going out for dinner.
No.
I really don't like if somebody's like, come over, I've made fajitas and they're really nice. I'm like, wow. I'm never gonna do it for you because I could not think
God,
of anything
I'm not
more
cooking for it.
stressful.
I can't cook.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love cooking.
I can't cook.
Yeah, I once had to like it's literally like trauma. I think back to like this guy in college that cleaned my laptop, or he did something for my laptop. He was like a techie guy, techie stuff, and then he's like, I was like, how much should I pay you? He was like, no, just cook for me, and I was like,
Oh God. I'd
Oh,
rather.
And I had to cook
that's
for him.
presumptuous. Also, I
it
like
was
the
so
idea.
stressful.
I love the
horrible.
idea that a techie guy just cleans a laptop and just comes in and hoovers it or whatever, or wipes it down as opposed to
Sounds like he
anything
was
more.
trying to get a date with you anyway.
No, he was straight as fuck, but like, no.
And he wanted you to cook him.
He wanted me to
What?
cook. I
No.
don't know. Well, he didn't. we
Did
didn't
you cook him dinner?
I did. I made like it was so stressful. I remember where I was. I remember everything about that whole scene, and I remember like wraps. Like I don't eat meat, like chicken wraps, and I didn't know how to cook the chicken. It was very.
Well, okay, great. Thanks.
Not coming round to yours for food anytime soon.
I just order out.
Where can we get your socials?
Instagram. I should tell you my Instagram.
Yeah.
My Instagram is
We'll pop it up on the
mykhe01
screen.
MYKHE01. HE01, because people always say it and you're like, I didn't get that, love. And you know,
That's 'cause yours is super
MYKHE01,
confusing.
that's me.
Amazing.
On Instagram, just follow me there. That's good.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for
Thank you,
coming.
guys.
It's been
Thank you very
great.
much.
And we will see you again soon. You can find me on Instagram at Mr. David Ian.
And I'm at KTS Dale.
And we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Mediocre Gay, the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. It helps other people find the show.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Mediocre Gay Pod or share your mediocre secrets with us on mediocregaypod@gmail.com.